Imagine a cake that looks incredibly delicious. It's made with the finest ingredients and decorated with magnificent fruits. The inside is filled with your favorite cream. You can't help yourself. You take a single bite. But wait, what's this? There's no taste. That can't be right. You take another bite. No, in fact, it starts to bother you. It is so tasteless. It feels like sand in your mouth. But it didn't look that way. Then, you look at the people around you, people eating the same cake. They are in ecstasy with every bite. They look at each other and say, "I've never eaten a better cake in my life." You start to think there must be a problem with you. You take another slice. No, it feels like you're chewing on damp newspaper. You feel a deep jealousy toward those around you. You envy their ability to get a taste that you simply cannot. But still, you force a smile. You finish the cake that seems to grow in your mouth and say, "Yes, it was wonderful." The person who gave this cake example was someone living through this exact condition. This individual, who has struggled with this numbness throughout their entire life, continues, "For the last 7 years, I have experienced only a few sparks of emotion in my life. Other than that, I feel almost nothing." This was the definition of anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure. Nothing gives you joy. Not the cake, not the coffee you drink, nor the conversations you have. It is a state of profound emotional void, numbness. It is one of the most significant and crushing symptoms of major depression. I have no goals to speak of. I don't want anything either, because I know the results won't satisfy me. If I had to describe my life in one word, I would say cold. Everything I look at, everything I do, it looks cold. It feels cold. This situation might sound familiar to many of us. Many people experience this during certain periods of their lives. However, here we are talking about a numbness that persists for so long you can't even remember the alternative. But what exactly do we mean by anhedonia, and what are some solutions? Let's take a look. As I mentioned, many people may lose interest in things they once felt excited about at certain times. Anhedonia, however, takes this lack of interest to extreme levels. It makes it impossible to feel even the slightest pleasure from music, food, friends, or anything that previously brought joy. It can be seen alongside major depression, schizophrenia, psychosis, Parkinson's disease, anorexia, and substance abuse. Interestingly, this condition often lies beneath the interest some people show in extreme sports as a desperate part of the effort to feel pleasure. But of course, understanding the causes and mechanisms of anhedonia is as difficult as understanding any emotional state, because our brain circuits are just as complex, intricate, and busy. Because when we say anhedonia, we aren't just talking about not getting the same old taste from chocolate. We are talking about a problem that can reach serious proportions in the underlying reward mechanism. Consequently, various factors related to the reward mechanism, such as interest level, motivation, expectation, hope, and the calculation of required effort, can all undergo changes, each more complex than the last. One thing should not be misunderstood here. People in a state of anhedonia can participate in activities like everyone else and even experience a certain level of enjoyment. But in anhedonia, the reward process functions completely differently. Let's explain the reward mechanism with a simple example. When we do something and enjoy it, we naturally want to do it again, automatically. Like a piece of chocolate you eat for the first time. If you like it very much, you want more. However, if a single piece of that chocolate costs $100, you'd think twice. Or if you learned it was extremely harmful to your health. But if that chocolate is perfectly healthy, and on top of that, it's free, if all you had to do was walk to the next room or the cupboard, you'd go get it. It wouldn't seem like a big deal. However, if you had to take a bus for 2 hours across the entire city during rush hour just to reach this wonderful free chocolate, you might calculate the effort and decide it's not worth it. I know, for some of us, it doesn't matter how far the chocolate is. But if you're in a crowded city and you have to travel from one end to the other, you get the point. Even if it's a simple example, We make many decisions in our lives by calculating this ratio of effort versus reward. Most of the time, we aren't even aware of it. These types of processes in the brain are thought to be the responsibility of a region known as the basal ganglia, specifically a part called the nucleus accumbens, otherwise known as the brain's reward center. Unsurprisingly, this region has come to the forefront in various studies on anhedonia. But of course, nothing in the brain is limited to a single area. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for planning and personality, the amygdala, responsible for emotions and decisions, and the insula, related to consciousness and self-awareness, are all thought to play a role. Especially the prefrontal cortex's role in processing rewards, combined with its connections to the reward center, makes it one of the most critical areas regarding motivation. At this point, neurotransmitters, known as nerve carriers, have also been examined. Naturally, the hormone dopamine stands out. In fact, a link has been found between dopamine deficiency and the severity of anhedonia. Yet, for such a complex structure, this doesn't seem to be the only answer. Dopamine deficiency in different parts of the brain can sometimes create very different or even opposite effects. GABA, which acts as a transmitter in the central nervous system, as well as serotonin and opioids, also play a role. Another fascinating connection is the relationship between inflammation and depression. Yes, research shows that those suffering from depression often have increased levels of inflammation. The primary chemicals causing this increase are cytokines and CRP, known as C-reactive protein. In blood tests, CRP elevation is what's monitored. A study found a direct link between increased CRP levels and increased anhedonia. Take cytokines, for example. This is a chemical we became very familiar with during the COVID crisis. It is the immune system's response to viruses. However, sometimes this response can lead to different types of damage. An immune system attacking the lungs, using cytokines as the weapon. Beyond all this, cytokines intensify symptoms like fatigue and a decreased sense of taste, paralleling depression. It is also common for depression to develop following cytokine use in cancer treatments. In short, these cytokines can ultimately lead to anhedonia, total numbness. We are facing a very complex phenomenon with deep physical roots. It is in your biology. Sometimes, it is even thought that certain medications used to treat depression can inadvertently intensify anhedonia. While trying to treat the depression, the numbness can be overlooked. However, despite all this, methods and medications exist to cure this numbness, and they continue to be developed. It is vital to know that a solution is possible. For this reason, one should consult a professional without losing time, because experiencing pleasure is the most fundamental part of a complete and happy life. Being able to find joy in the food you eat, the places you see, the people you meet, and new experiences makes life worth living. Having these experiences move you emotionally makes everything more attractive. And we must remember that this can be relearned. Yes, some of us may need to relearn how to enjoy things that others find easy, to relearn how to be happy from scratch. But we must never forget that it will be worth every bit of the effort. As always, until we meet again, I'm glad you're here. Best regards.